Hello, fellow Voyagers. Jess with Odyssey Human here to talk today about how you're only using a tiny fraction of your free will and how to use more, how to take control. So, welcome to the channel. This is where we explore the outer reaches of human consciousness and experience, talk about things like emotional mastery, advanced manifesting, extended human capabilities, and more. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Free will. This is a really interesting concept, and I want to take a really 30,000-foot view today and explain how most people, myself included at one time, don't use the full extent of their free will and what that actually means, what it looks like, and how to change it. So when we're young, we start to develop habits. Like when we're babies, we go through this period of kind of stimulus response, right? We feel hungry, we cry. we Something hurts us, we cry. We get angry or sad, we cry. It's the stimulus response kind of trial and erroring that happens. And, our awareness is so limited at that point. Like we're not really, we don't have self-awareness when we're, infants. And so we start to develop this conditioning almost very haphazardly, right? It just kind of, we get conditioned very easily. We learn, right? This is what learning is. It's being conditioned. We're being conditioned. We're constantly being conditioned. And we practice these things so much that they become unaware to us. Like they become so ingrained, just the stimulus response cycle, that it becomes a part of who we are, who we think we are. And that continues through school, right? We're conditioned even more, conditioned to listen to our elders, conditioned to learn our math tables, conditioned in so many ways that we don't ever feel like we get a chance to, at least this is what I felt when I was young. It's like, we're constantly being conditioned that we very rarely get a chance to choose that, right? It's just kind of a part of the process of growing up, and I'm not judging it. It's just kind of how it is in childhood, right? We're taught, we learn, but really we're being conditioned in certain ways, to behave certain ways, and to do these patterns of thought, feeling, coping mechanism, thought, feeling, coping mechanism, thought, feeling, coping mechanism. And essentially that's how we enter into what I consider slavery to our emotions, right? We just, by never questioning it, if we never question, those patterns will stay unconscious to us throughout our life, right? You can kind of see this in adults when they don't get their way, they have a tantrum. It's very much, it really harkens back to times in our life when we were 1 or 2 and we learned if I'm hungry or I need something or I want something, I'm not getting it my way, I cry and I scream and I kick, and many people still do that. And I did that too. I totally acknowledge. I remember what it feels like a few years ago to be in a tantrum. And so we just kind of act out all these programs. We continue to act out these programs. And they're just these little tiny, when I say a program, I mean a cycle of a thought, a feeling, and then typically a coping mechanism or a behavior or a habit that then we act out. And it's just these little cycles. And we're essentially a collection of all of those. Let me just check my notes real quick. Yeah, and we just play them out. We play them out. We're so distracted by what's happening in life. As we move into adulthood, we're trying to attend to making money and fulfilling our purpose, that we're focused on those things and never really paying attention to the fact that we are a collection of our own habits. That's really all that we are. And there's a certain feeling to that, and I'm going to get into it in a second. But I want to ask you, how do you want to feel? Let's drop into really being conscious right now in this moment and start to take back that free will. Because I think when we're in those habits and patterns, we're not really acting of our own free will. We're acting in the way that we've acted before a million times and not choosing how we want to behave, how we want to feel, how we want to think. So how do we start taking control of that? And I want to ask you, how do you want to feel on a daily basis? What is your standard for feeling? Like if you, in the best case scenario, how would you want to feel every day when you woke up? In the best case scenario, what would you be doing with your life? What would you be doing every day? What activities would you be doing? What career would you be working? Or what business would you be running? What person would you be with? What would you be doing with your day, every day, with your life? If in the best case scenario, in your ideal life, every aspect of that. Let that kind of flash in your mind. I'm sure it was easy to just be like, oh yeah, I would be doing this. So my question to you is, do you really have free will if you're not doing those things now? Or feeling the way you want to feel? Or even thinking the way you want to think, living out the story that you want to tell, the story that just popped into your head. If you're not living it out and manifesting it and creating it your reality, experiencing it in your reality, do you really have free will? So if you don't, and that's okay, I'm not judging this, we're just kind of bringing awareness to it. This is the process that I went through when I was kind of reclaiming my free will. So who or what is in control? Who or what is in control of these things, of why these things aren't happening in your life, of why you're not choosing them? I'll tell you what they are. It's typically the story and or the feeling. It's the thoughts and the feelings, right, that we're having, right? Because often when I am coaching people and they tell me, oh, I would love to be doing this, but there's a but. The but is the transition to, but I am a slave to this story. What comes after the but is always the reason why they can't do it or aren't able to do it, or there's a challenge or whatever obstacle is perceived as being in the way. And really what that comes down to is a story and a feeling. After the but, there's the story of I can't do this because, and then the feeling of belief in that, full belief in that story, right? Because if you didn't believe the story, you'd be off doing what you actually wanted to do and following your heart. And then the feeling, the body is also, feelings are thoughts that our body has, right? Our body also has its own thoughts, and that's what we experience, what I call feeling. So, and what does this feel like when we're in these spaces of being kind of subservient to that, the belief in that, the realness of that story? Oh, I'm too old for this, or it's never going to happen for me, or I wouldn't be able to survive financially, or there's some big story that we really believe. You can feel it. It feels very disempowering. I remember this feeling very distinctly. It feels like I was on a hamster wheel. It felt like I would try to change things in my life, but they never stuck. And it felt like I gave up all that, I was constantly giving up. And what giving up really is, we can't ever give up. Giving up is trying to do something new, but never reaching the full completion of that and falling back into, okay, I'm just going to let my programs run the show again. That's what giving up is. When we're like, I give up. So, because remember, in manifesting, everything you experience is you. This is just a game with yourself. Everything you're ever going to think, feel, experience, know is contained within your conscious awareness, and that is all you. It's all simulative of the things that you have created. It's all you all the time, all you all the time. So it's really, when you give up, you're just falling back into the allowing, the consent of saying, okay, I'm just going to let these programs run me. Instead of moving through that process of reprogramming yourself, which can be uncomfortable, takes effort and energy, until it becomes automatic, and then you've chosen the program, right? That is kind of how we take back our free will. It's like driving a car. When you learn to drive a car, it takes a lot of energy and attention and you have to consciously be aware that you're driving the car. You got to think about the pedals and the blinker, and you're so focused on it. And it's nerve-wracking, like it's scary, it's uncomfortable because it's new to you. It's new to us when we're learning how to drive a car. And think about when you drive a car now. It's so automatic that we don't even use our conscious awareness anymore. Typically, conscious awareness is off attending to the thoughts of the day, the problems of the day, something someone said while we're driving, and we go from point A to point B, and sometimes we don't even remember doing it. That's how unconscious the actual act of driving the car is. I mean, think about it. You're going at high speeds in a vehicle and you weren't even paying attention. That's how the incredible power of when we install a program, it will run, and it will run really well, amazingly well. So well that it becomes essentially invisible and we don't even have to pay attention to it anymore. So comes back to free will. It's the same thing. Let me check my notes. Yeah, we're only as good as our most dysfunctional program that's running. We're only as strong as our most dysfunctional program. So we start taking back our free will by just retraining ourselves, retraining these programs, moving into a metacognitive space where we acknowledge and are aware that when I have an emotion, that is a symptom. An emotion is a symptom. It's always a symptom of a program running. If it feels uncomfortable and you're having a negative emotion, there's a program running that got installed a long time ago that you probably didn't even consent to, that just kind of got conditioned in your childhood or whenever. And now that we have conscious awareness, now that we're playing with metacognition of transcending and being aware of our own habits, we get to choose to reprogram. That's how we take back our free will. So how do we do that? We move into a space of knowing when we're having a negative emotion, what's the story I'm telling and how am I feeling in my body? Is my body agreeing with this story? And starting to reprogram that, starting to choose. What do you do when you get an emotion? When you're in the midst of an emotion, what do you do? If you can start to move into a metacognitive space of just backing up a little bit, enough to be like, what am I thinking? I'm reacting to the story I'm telling and to the feeling in my body. So my body is also going along with the story. And then changing that and choosing differently. What do I want to think? What do I want to feel? And then moving into that. Move into that. I give you a free tool. I put it in all my videos. It's my stop, drop, and roll tool. This is how I reprogrammed myself. This is the starting point. So if you're just new to this journey, go ahead and grab it below. It's a free tool. It is branded under my old brand, so excuse that, but it's still just as potent, just as powerful, and just as relevant. So it's the tool that I give everyone. That is my quintessential tool, and I give it to you for free. So go ahead and grab it below, because that's how we start to reprogram. And then we have activated the full brunt of our free will by choosing what collection of programs we are. That's what we are. We're a collection of programs that run. And when you get to choose, when you have chosen that program, when you've reconditioned yourself, and it's going to take a little time and energy, just like when you're learning how to drive a car. You reprogram until it becomes automatic. And that's what manifestation really is. The art of manifestation is the art of learning how to change yourself internally through affirmations, through visualizations. You're reprogramming yourself in such a profound way that your reality shifts, because everything is consciousness. And so when you reprogram yourself, your outer reality it's going to ripple through your outer reality, and literally reality will change too, because everything is consciousness. And so that is the art of manifestation. And that is why the more you use your free will, the better you're going to feel, the more you're going to do the things you want to do, because you've chosen the program, you've reconditioned yourself. And the less reliant you are, the less willing you are to fall for, if you get a negative emotion, you're like, wait, what am I thinking and feeling here? And shifting it on a dime, and then being in total control of your inner world. So, and that feels entirely empowering, entirely self-actualized. That's an incredible feeling. So that's why the extreme end of this is burnout. When you are burnt out, Believe me, I've been here, no judgment. Burnout is the extreme negative end of this, where we have let our programs run us so much that it has sucked the life force out of us and we don't even feel like living anymore. We're totally burnt out. We're totally crispy. Our mind and our body, the programs are so not what we want, and they've been running for so long that it has just zapped us of everything. The extreme positive end of this is emotional mastery to the extreme of being able to flip on a dime of how you feel about something, because you know it's not the circumstances that are causing that emotion, it's your thought about it, aka the story you're telling, and then your body's thought about it, which is the feelings you're having in your body. So I invite you to start claiming more of that free will, moving towards the end of feeling more empowered. And drop a comment below. Let me know if you need any clarification, assistance, if you want to tell a story. Awesome. And thanks for watching.